What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick and Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media as the Patriots just wrapped up day one of their 2024 training camp. A reminder, we are powered by Game Time. Head over to Game Time. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, Taylor. A lot of defenders, handful of defenders returned today after a lot of them missed the offseason program, minicamp, OTAs, things like that. The main ones, I would say, Matthew Judon and Davon Godchaux. They both show up. They both participate. Judon talked about his contract a little bit after practice with us. So what did you make of those guys returning, especially the top two in Judon and Godchaux?
Yeah, start with Matthew Judon. As transparent as ever, very honest. He mentioned that he does want to stay in New England. He wants to stay specifically for his teammates, he mentioned, but also acknowledged that, he didn't want to involve himself with the business side. He said that's not on him. And that's kind of been shown at the fact that he's not holding in like he did last season. He was a full participant, as he was also in the spring. Yep. Really, Judon is a difference maker for this team. It makes all the sense in the world for him to stay. And then when asked, well, what is it that separates you? Why do you think that, what you're playing on right now, as he mentioned, isn't what your value is? And he gave an interesting answer. It wasn't what you think of like, I do X, Y, Z on the field. He actually mentioned more what he is as a person. Right. The fact that he can detach from football, which I feel like is kind of a sign that you see with how much of a leader he is in terms of being vocal, always being so carefree. I think bringing that to a locker room, especially for a sport as grueling as football, is pretty significant. Also mentioned his faith. So I think for him, what his value is on top of being a player is just being a unique personality. And again, that bond the teammates have. He touched on Anthony Jennings, Joshua Uche, both guys who returned to the team and mentioned they liked what they were building here. So with Judon, I do think something gets done, but he didn't really want to talk about that side of it, which is understandable. Yeah. And then for Davon Godchaux, participated fully. That one was a bit of a surprise. Not really from what we've heard. Gerard Mayo said that everyone who was here was expected to play if they were healthy. Yep. Now, Godchaux did hold in during the spring, but once again, he was a participant today, so that was a positive to see.
Yeah, I liked what Judon said. The locker room, it's an addicting culture. Yeah. He loves it here. So, again, he doesn't want to be traded. They asked him if he wanted to be traded to the 49ers. He retweeted something about it last week. Right. He said, hell no, I don't want to be traded. So
he's like, I don't run my social media.
Yeah, exactly. So he wants to be here. It's obviously, and then he told us, go talk to Elliott Wolf and Matt Groh about the contract question. So interesting stuff there. We'll see what happens with both Judon and Davon Godchaux. Also, a handful of cornerbacks return. Marcus Jones, Jonathan Jones, two guys who rarely, if ever, participated in the offseason program. The both of them show up today, and they're out there, so look like they're clear from injury. What did you see overall from the cornerback position?
Yeah, so Jonathan Jones looks like he's still sticking outside, but in the slot, we actually saw almost exclusively Marcus Jones in that position, so it feels like he finally has the leg up. After last season, he spent more of the time outside than inside, which was weird. Right. Finally got some more opportunities last season because Jonathan Jones was out. Also in the first week, they more rotated, but then obviously had the season-ending injury. So good to see Marcus Jones out there. Also saw him involved when it came to returning punts, just not a ton. And John Jones just being out there. You know what you're going to get out of him. Had an off-season surgery. He mentioned yesterday he was just getting something cleaned up. Right. But having those two guys out there is huge and gives you more context for what the cornerback position could look like.
Yeah, we talked about the cornerback rotation this morning on our preview podcast and how Jonathan Jones' role doesn't – he can go back and forth, outside, inside. It's going to depend on Marcus Jones on the inside, Alex Austin on the outside. Yeah. Today, Marcus Jones obviously had that step up. He gets sort of the first crack at cracking that starting lineup. We'll see if things change tomorrow and if they give Austin the outside, John Jones on the inside, and how that plays out.
And also notably, Alex Austin did have some reps opposite Christian Gonzalez. So it may be, I do think we mentioned this also, it's going to be some kind of rotation where we may see John Jones and Marcus Jones in the slot and John Jones and Alex Austin outside. Alex Austin and Marcus Jones, two young guys I think the defense would like to see earn starting roles at some point, but having Jonathan Jones as kind of a buffer where you have a consistent guy who can make plays for you and then kind of move guys along as the situation suits them best, I feel like that's the best course of action.
Yep. Another guy who returns is Jahlani Tavai. He comes in having just signed a 3-year, $21 million, I believe, is the max contract extension with the team. You spoke with him a little bit after practice about what are his goals and what his role is going to be this season.
Yeah, one big thing I mentioned when he was actually extended, he's been a staple of the base defense, of the nickel defense, where you're typically expecting run. He didn't really participate in the dime defense, more pass-oriented grouping. That was typically Juwan Bentley. Tavai only played when Bentley was hurt, so I asked him, hey, you've been a staple on early downs. Would you like to be more involved in dime? Honestly thinking I wasn't going to get much out of him, but he did mention, he said said that he's never satisfied. He wants to improve everything. And one of the things specifically was being involved in that dime defense and being an every down player. With the contract extension, you kind of assumed he wasn't complacent with where he was. He would want to continue to develop. So seeing that he wants to be more of an every down player that I thought he could be, even going back to last season, could be pretty interesting and really cool to see a guy who already does so much for this defense wanting to do even more.
Absolutely. So yeah, Matthew Judon, Devon Godshaw, the two Joneses and Jonathan and Marcus, and then Jahlani Tavai all return after some seldom participation throughout the offseason program. So we'll see what happens with this stout defense. They obviously played great last year. They have a chance to do the same thing again and kind of carry this team into 2024. We'll be back here every single day at Patriots training camp, so make sure you follow along on social media at Patriots CLNS and subscribe on YouTube at Patriots Press Pass.
Make sure to subscribe to Patriots Press Pass for all your Patriots news and updates on YouTube. And for all our written work, make sure you check out clnsmedia.com.